You ever wonder why some people seem to wait 3 years for a green card while others wait 15, even with similar jobs? That gap usually comes down to one tiny thing called a priority date. Basically, your spot in a very long, very slow-moving line. Think of it like a bakery with one cashier and 1,000 people holding tickets. Your priority date is the number on your ticket, and it gets stamped the moment your employer or family member files that first petition for you. Here is where it gets interesting, though, because your spot in line does not just disappear if your case changes. This is called priority date retention, and it means you often get to keep your original ticket number even if you switch employers or file a brand new petition later. So why does this even matter? Because without it, every time someone changed jobs or got a new sponsor, they would lose years of waiting and have to start completely over, which would be about as fun as losing your place in line at the deli because you sneezed. The rule mostly lives inside something called the employment-based system, specifically for categories like EB2 and EB3. If your first approved petition, called an I-140, eventually gets replaced by a second one, you usually keep that earlier priority date as long as the first petition was not denied, revoked for fraud, or willfully withdrawn. That last part trips people up constantly. If your employer pulls the petition because business slows down or they just feel like it, you might still keep your priority date, but if immigration catches fraud or a misrepresentation, that protection can disappear faster than free samples at a grocery store. Let us talk timing for a second, because priority dates connect to something called the Visa Bulletin, which the government updates every single month like a moody weather report. It tells you whether your category and country are current, meaning your number has finally been called. Countries with huge demand like India and China often face longer waits because demand is split by country, not just by category. It is kind of like a popular restaurant having one line for walk-ins and one line for people who pre-ordered online, except the walk-in line barely moves for years. People often assume changing jobs means losing everything, and that fear keeps folks stuck in roles they have outgrown. In reality, once that first I-140 is approved, switching employers later and filing a new one usually lets you port that original priority date forward. There's also a quieter version of this idea in family-based immigration, though the rules shift depending on relationship category and whether someone ages out or changes status. The lesson stays the same though. Your place in line is valuable, almost like frequent flyer miles you do not want to accidentally let expire. This is also where people get burned by doing it themselves based on a forum post from 2014. Immigration law updates constantly, and one wrong assumption about retention can cost someone years of waiting they can never get back. A good immigration lawyer is not just filling out forms, they are basically a translator between confusing government language and your actual life plans. They know which documents prove your earlier petition was not denied for the wrong reasons and how to argue your case if the timeline gets messy. There is no universal yes or no answer to whether you keep your priority date because it depends on your specific facts, your category, and your history of filings. That is exactly the kind of nuance that turns a quick question into an expensive mistake when handled without guidance. If there is one thing to remember, it is that patience plus good information beats panic every single time in this process. Waiting in line is hard enough without accidentally cutting yourself out of it by mistake. So if any of this sounds like your situation, or you are just trying to figure out what your own priority date actually means for your future, you want to learn more about our company? Check out our links in the description.